A gender ideology cult. That's how one author describes the industry that convinces troubled children that changing their gender will solve all their problems. She also documents the enormous regret of those who took irreversible steps to alter their gender. Many of them are warning others not to make the same mistake. CBN's Wendy Griffith reports.
20-year-old Chloe Cole, a self-described former trans kid, is leading the fight to protect children from transgender surgeries. Chloe detransitioned following years of taking puberty blockers and an irreversible double mastectomy at the age of 15.
We need to stop telling 12-year-olds that they were born wrong, that they are right to reject their own bodies and feel uncomfortable with their own skin. We need to stop telling children that puberty is an option, that they can choose what kind of puberty they will go through. My childhood was ruined, along with thousands of detransitioners that I know through our networks. This needs to stop.
So I spoke with a lot of these young people who tried to do the unthinkable to change their gender.
In her new book, Detrans, True Stories of Escaping the Gender Ideology Cult, Mary Margaret Olahan writes, many of these young people wanted to find themselves and had no idea of the impact transitioning would have on them.
They were told that the reason that they didn't feel comfortable at school, the reason they didn't have a lot of friends, the reason that they didn't feel special is because they weren't in the right body, and that if they got into this right body, that all of their problems would disappear and they would feel happy and content and fulfilled. And of course, this is a lie.
She contends that what proponents label gender-affirming care is really puberty and hormone blockers, followed by, in many cases, gender-mutilating surgeries in which there is no going back.
A lot of these girls got double mastectomies, which is called top surgery, before they were legal adults. In fact, I've heard of girls who are so mentally ill, as all of these young detransitioners are. They were so mentally ill that when they went in for their double mastectomies, they asked the doctors, how long will it take for them to grow back? Because there's no understanding of what's actually going on here. There's no proper explanations from the doctors about what the ramifications of these procedures are. And so, you know, a lot of these girls go into this thinking that they're going to emerge looking just like a boy with a, perfectly flat chest. But at the end of the day, what they're left with is very gruesome looking scars that lace across their chest that are black. So, you know, these are just very invasive and tragic surgeries.
Mary Margaret, detransitioning is starting to get more attention as more people are telling their stories. Is there a common denominator among the young people who are detransitioning?
I would say yes. And there comes a point where they think, okay, I've done what I was told to do. The doctor said I would be better and be happier after this. And then there's a moment where they realize, wait, I'm not happier. I'm not better. I still have very serious mental health issues. And for a lot of the detransitioners, that's the point where they wake up and realize, if I was lied to about this, what else was I lied to about?
Olahan says although parents share responsibility, they are often faced with a frightening ultimatum by doctors who ask,
would you rather have a dead daughter or a living son? And they look the parents in the eyes and they say this, and the parents love their kids. They do not want their child to hurt themselves. And so they trust the doctors and they move forward. And so this is truly a really incredible betrayal by the medical system.
And while these kids are celebrated when they transition, Olahan says those who then try to reverse it can face attacks or rejection.
If a detransitioner speaks up and says, I went through those puberty blockers, I went through the hormones, I got this surgery, and I'm not better. In fact, I'm much worse, and I'm missing body parts, that completely contradicts the narrative that these trans activists are selling, that transitioning is beautiful and brave and wonderful and will only make you happier. And so when detransitioners speak up, they're met with a lot of hate, a lot of vitriol, a lot of bitterness and anger, and they're told that you were never actually transgender and that you're a traitor, all kinds of horrible things. And let's not forget that the detransitioners themselves used to feel very lonely, very awkward. They desperately wanted to fit in. So this is incredibly hard for them when the group that accepted them and told them they were special and brave for being transgender is now saying, get away from us, you're scum.
As for Chloe, her testimony before Congress, along with many others, has helped change the way states look at gender-affirming care. Today, half of all U.S. states ban puberty blockers and surgeries for young people under 18, and more states are expected to follow. Chloe says she and thousands of others have been the victims of one of the biggest medical scams in American history.
I speak to you in the hope that you will have the courage to bring the scandal to an end and ensure that other vulnerable teenagers, children, and young adults don't go through what I went through. Enough children have already been victimized by this barbaric pseudoscience. Please let me be your final warning.
Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
Well, I hope our legislatures across America wake up to this and say, no, not on our watch. You don't get to mutilate our children. This should be a national ban. I'm surprised Congress isn't taking the lead on it. Would it ever be voted on at the U.S. Senate is an open question. Would the current administration sign it into law is a whole nother question. But in the meantime, let's every state come together on this and say, this is obviously not working. And it is obviously an agenda, an ideology that's being forced upon us. If you have any questions about that, just go back in time to what was said out of Vanderbilt University, where they had one of these clinics. And the head of it said, if you don't agree with everything we're doing here, I'm going to fire you. That there was a restriction, an ideology in everything that they were doing, that if you didn't join in with it, you couldn't be there. And if you had any questions on the science or the medical practice, or is this working or not working, and all of those very legitimate questions, you would be let go. I do congratulate Great Britain for leading the charge on that. That was the first breakthrough to show, well, this really isn't working, and it's actually making the lives of the children that go through it, it's making it much worse.